Welcome back, folks, to Fishing Planet. Today's video is going to be an interesting one. I think I talked about it a few years ago, but now with the new Club Series gear, this is a very good thing to talk about, and that is the different tiers of gear in the game. Now, keep in mind, there is no actual data, and when I like to say stuff, I like to have 100% proof of it. This is just my opinion, and some people are going to disagree, but I'm going to tier these out for you guys. And we're going to leave the different types of gear, or when we do the different types of gear list here, we're going to leave Club Series off, and there's a few reasons for it. One, it's not really out in the game yet. We haven't been able to try it. And also, even if it had been out a week, guys, I would never put it on the list with only a week of using it. Unless every fish I caught on it was a unique. That's not how I test stuff. It takes a long time for me to come to conclusions. And even at that, I'm willing to make adjustments if I learn more stuff. So, with that being said, we are going to talk about, we're going to leave this lake here while we do this. We're going to be talking about we're going to start from the worst and we're going to the best tiers of gear. Now, everybody's going to have an opinion on this. Trust me, guys. I am just giving you my opinion on it, and this will help you. I feel like it could help you when you go to a lake on what maybe gear to start with. Now, I always test all of them. So, for example, when I go into a tournament, I'll use all gear. I'll test them all out. With that being said, let's get started with the worst tier of gear. And this one's going to surprise a lot of people. And it is the trophy sets of gear that you get from missions. And this is the only tier on this list. Be very clear. This is the only tier on this list that I haven't made it to a finals on tournaments with or won a competition with, a normal competition. This is the only one on the list because I know some people like trophy. I would say a majority of people do not like the trophy gear. It is not that great for a lot of people. I'm trying to see if there's any more. The only trophy piece of gear that I do use is to my knowledge, the trophy bullet spinner, and you can see I don't even use that often. It's not in my bag right now. That one's probably pretty good, and honestly, the trophy spinner bait is not terrible. Everything else I rarely use. I'll bring it with, try it, put it back in home storage. It's kind of a repeating process when I do that. So, the next one tier, in my opinion, and yes, it's above trophy, is just the normal stuff that you get with cash. The in-game cash lures, there's a lot of them. For example, like a narrow spoon here, this is one a lot of people use. There's a lot of good stuff in here, including the shads, the glow in the dark stuff. Just the stuff that is an in-game cash. I think we all agree that it's towards it's your starter gear for the most part. Now, the next one though is your Bitcoin gear. A lot of these, the Bitcoin ones, and I'm saying when I talk about these tiers, guys, I'm talking about it in general. I'm not saying every piece is the greatest or worst. I'm just talking about in general what tends to be the really, good stuff. And the Bitcoin gear seems definitely to have a slight edge for me over the in-game cash gear. And there was an argument to even put this up higher on the list. And then more normally it's real cheap, but like this casting spoon that you get early, these two types of casting spoons, pretty darn good. I have a tendency to use the red one more than I do the other ones, but there is Bitcoin gear everywhere. So, for example, as you guys know, this is a very good spinner. It works really well in a lot of places. I'm trying to find the bigger version of it because, as you guys know, that's what I use at um, Michigan for the pike and muskie. It works really good. I can't seem to find it right now. Not the end of the world, but I just was making an example. As a whole, the bait coin, the gear that you buy with bait coins, is generally pretty good. The next set is the monster. We'll go over here to the monster lures. And not all of them have it, but like the pike fins lure, not bad. The dendro spoon, not bad. The turtle spoon's pretty good. There's a lot of these lures that are pretty good. This uh, for those of you guys that wonder why this isn't higher on the list because of the Gollum lure. The other ones just end up being really good. The Gollum lure is the one I think most people would say stand out. This bad boy here, and a lot of people don't, including myself, don't have it anymore. And it is a very good lure, but there's also all these lures seem to be pretty darn good for the most part. You can use them. I think a lot of people overlook them, like the gourmet spoon here is really good. But a lot of this equipment that you get, like the water vole, a lot of them end up being pretty good from this list. And then the next one is event gear. So, for example, this was a harder one for me to rank on the list because some of it is really good and some of it is hit or miss. For example, there's the leprechaun spinnerbait, not bad. It's not bad. There's some of it that does come with me as well. Like I do keep it with me. Like if we go into here, there'll be the clover spoon. There'll be some others as well. But the event stuff in some of this that I'm going over that you're like, well, that's part of the event. We're going to talk about here in a minute. But like the roach spoon, that's the Halloween event lure. Really hard to say that is not a really good lure. That can work a lot of places, especially Alaska. And so your event lures are going to be really high on the list. That would be um, like that you're starting to get to the top of the top here. Now we don't know where Club Series is, so that could change the list completely. Now at the I'm calling it 1B. It is the X Series gear. And by the way, when I'm talking about this stuff, guys, I'm not talking about poles or boats. They don't ever seem to make a difference. So I'm not talking about this. I'm talking mostly about lures, stuff that actually affects your fishing. X Series, pretty top notch. And I call it 1B. Uh, Most of the X Series gear is really good, obviously. A lot of it, if you guys don't know how to get it, is the 30-day challenges is a good way to get a lot of your starter gear. If you do under your profile, you'll see them. And that's a good way. And there's a lot of X Series gear that ends up being good. I mean, I don't even think I have to say this to people, but most people, that's what they're shooting for in the game. Now, this is the one where I don't know if a lot of people will agree with me until they think about it, and I might get a lot of people mad about putting something over X Series gear. But hear me out, guys. I'll put it in the lettering. I'll put the actual name, but it's the 4th of July event I have in a separate category at 1A, guys. And this list is meant to help you out when you go to a lake to try stuff. It is in the event series because you could try everything. That's what I always do. But my go-to is generally X Series or the 4th of July event stuff. And you can always buy this in a pack. I will try to remember to put the pack name up there. And it's easily the most valuable pack in the game. Like to me, for what you're getting, I think it's like $7 US. Or if you just wait till the 4th of July event, you can get it too. But we're going to talk about a few of these because people are probably mad I put something over the X Series gear. But the Eagle Spoon, a very good one. I mean, a lot of these things, like the Single Spoon, the Liberty Spoon, they're so good that there's nothing. The Bison spinner, there's almost nothing in the pack that I don't use on that like higher tier. For example, I think as a whole, there's a few things that really stand out to people. The Patriot Walker is probably, I think more people use the Patriot Walker than the X Series Walker. And again, with uh, the uh, Star Spangled Crankbait, I think most people use that over the X Series one as well. That I know competitively. And like the rattlesnake worm, I use that way more than I use my X Series one. And the old glory grub, I could go down the whole list. I'm just saying that as a whole, there is no misses on this. For example, I'm not always the biggest fan of, for example, the X Series minnow grub or the X Series worm. They're okay, they're good. But I would much rather prefer the rattlesnake worm or the variant of it, if I can, of the patriotic version. It always seems to work. Like a good comparison to this is the Slew Nymph and the X Series Nymph. They both work amazingly well, and a lot of people always have them both in their backpack. So I know I'm kind of curious to see what the comments are. Everybody should, if you guys can, put your top three of these tiers down in the list, and I'm kind of curious to see if everybody else likes this Patriot gear as much as I do. I give it a slight edge a lot of times over X Series gear if it comes down to it, based on what I've known through the years of using it. Who knows? I might be an anomaly on that. Maybe more people also agree with me on that Patriot stuff than I do. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time, folks. Have a good one.